What's up, guys? My name is Alex. I am the CEO of Orca Oshi Capital. Shout out to my partner, Ronnie BTS, and an electronic dance music DJ. With that said, we have so much to dive right into, and recording the first time, I listened after the fact because I ad-lib, and the sound messed up. So hopefully the sound does not mess up this time, and jump right into talking about America's all-time highs. Credit card debt surpassing $1.08 trillion. 8 in 10 Americans have credit cards, and there are 572 million credit card accounts open, with the average American owning between 3 to 5, with a balance of $6,000 per card. Over 1 billion credit cards in circulation in America, however. So, not exactly the start to the new year that we'd hoped for. I was reading about what's called doomsday spending, and I don't understand it. We have a 22% APR rate, and that is on the generous side. I was taught by a great Jewish father that we never pay interest on a steak. So I learned the debt-based dollar system very well, and I even took notes. Oh, wow. Let's talk mortgage-backed security, shall we? We have home foreclosures up 34%. Commercial mortgage-backed securities are going to be very interesting this year. They're going to need some refinancing, and that's going to be very terrifying for the regional banks and the regular banks. Let me pop open my notations. That way I'm not too bad off track, being I have such pervasive ADHD and Asperger's. But 56 million credit card holders in America have been in debt for over a year. Yikes. So we have, just to put in perspective, we have the stock market hitting all-time highs. But it doesn't reflect the real economy. Massive red flags. We also have people using buy now, pay later for groceries. So let's use inductive reasoning, in particular to a general. If people are using buy now, pay later services for groceries, more than likely the consumer is tapped out. And with credit card debt, we also have delinquencies, the highest they've been in a decade, according to the Federal Reserve. Not to mention our country's debt is 34 trillion and counting, and the debt to GDP ratio, according to the IMF, is 123%. But it's fine because plastic. So to that I say, where are all the environmentalists? Can we please keep the bags in New Jersey and maybe learn some fiscal responsibility individually and get rid of some plastic? How does that sound? Hypothetically, allegedly, wouldn't that be lovely? And if you're a northerner, you know exactly what I mean. Let us keep going. To my humble corn farmers, if you know what that means, more than likely you were in Bitcoin before Elon. Shall we hypothetically, allegedly tell the people what we've learned? Liquidations usually cause Bitcoin to capitulate in price. For example, there were $115 million of liquidations in an hour, which is more than likely what brought it to 38%. Everyone keeps freaking out about the Bitcoin ETF. In fact, it has been said so many times on Bloomberg, I feel like if I took a shot every time I heard it, I would be mainlining it before noon. So keep doing what you're doing to my hodlers. I can't stop laughing because this reads like it's a joke. Borrowers for credit cards have car loans. And let's not forget about the auto loan asset-backed security market with auto prices at highs, cars prices at highs, and repos at highs, 25,000 to 30,000 a day. Now, if you get your car repoed, can you drive to work? With 187,000 to 200 and something thousand first-time jobless claims monthly, about 1 million. Plus, because men lie, women lie, data does not, however, it can be mass manipulated. And in this case, we're not including contractors, gig workers, etc. So probably way more than 1 million people filing first-time jobless claims or attempting to, and maybe not being successful. Again, let's check our health of the American economy. Home foreclosures, I already brought up. Okay, let's keep going. 10% of Americans are making just the minimum payment on credit cards. But speaking of credit cards, let's go to student loans and why people are obsessed with them. I have a theory. The reason people are obsessed with student loans is due to student loan asset-backed securities. That's right, no different than mortgage-backed securities. Slabs taking advantage of student debt, except this time they're not collateralized. So if something doesn't happen, there is no AIG. Big yikes, am I right? So this is why I conjure, and this is just my personal opinion, people are obsessed over it. And we had 40% of Americans not make a payment when they resumed. 60 did, and they advertised the 60% as though it was a God's gift. What were the 40% of people who did not pay their student loans doing? What were they doing? We had mortgage forbearance, student loan got pushed off for about 3 years. I have grace and space for those who are chronically ill, might I add. So I'm okay with canceling debt for that. They go into the big pharma machine and end up paying probably more than they would on a student loan. But as someone who deals with health issues, grace and space. However, what the hell was everyone else doing? Fair question, right? Because even Joe Biden recently canceling student loan, it's breadcrumbs based on the 1.74 trillion held by the 43.5 million Americans. Student loan debt is consistently the second largest type of debt behind a mortgage and can be a significant drag down on individual finances. This is why we're seeing bankruptcies heighten personal ones for student loans, which in this case, I mean, it seems the college degree is the experience, but college now seems to be something that is a big yikes as well, being that genociding someone like myself depends on the context, which just scares the hell out of me. So the Chinese yuan is giving the dollar a run for its money in the African trade while embracing other currencies. Are we shocked? Of course not. We have 5 currencies identifying as one: the yen, the euro, the pound, the dollar, and the yuan. And the yuan passed Japanese currency in 2022, making it the 4th in rate to trade. And of course, the yuan x the dollar in relation to trade in Russia. Duh, we canceled ourselves. What's wild is speaking to people who live in Russia and seeing the sodas and all of the replicas of from fast food to sodas implemented so quickly in Russia. And let's talk about the icebreakers. These massive ships that do exactly what I said, that go all the way to the Arctic and read to oil and gas. China and Russia definitely have a big advantage and read to that. I had not heard of it, the Arctic icebreakers, and my friend educated me. I was so gracious, and I said, it sounds like America needs to hear about this. And I Googled it, and I saw the Pentagon all of a sudden had posted something within the few hours. So I feel like we learned about them together. So let us keep going. Now let's lean in on this. Go through my notations. Oh yeah, BRICS. Let's talk about Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, de-dollarization. They added 5 people: Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. And shout out to Saudi Arabia, by the way, and Mecca Arabia. Their new gaming, I don't know if it's a prototype or if they've done it, it looks incredible. So shout out to the KSA for taking gaming to the next level, seriously. And also, off the top of my head, I meant to say that in our stock market now, we have 20% retail investors. Keep an eye on that. It's the highest it's ever been. So, good. Okay, perfect. Protect your purchase power. That's what I left off. I knew I was forgetting something. Hypothetically, allegedly, of course, but I would say one of the biggest things going into 2024 with so much Well, I would say FUD, however, people don't seem to have any of it. Doomsday spending, stocks at an all-time high. But the repo market, something that I watched during the Trump administration in relation to market correlation. And let us speak about those, shall we? There was the headline that I saw particularly, because prior to the global financial crisis, the Fed operated with what was known as scarce reserves. And I'm going to kind of read this just because I do not want to make a mistake, because I find it to be serious. Banks tried to hold just the minimum amount of the reserves. It sounds like history repeats. Borrowing in the federal funds market when they were a bit short and lending when they had a bit extra. The Fed targeted the interest rate in the market and added or drained reserves when it wanted to move the fund interest rates. Now, this is where it gets great. So I saw a headline, and I'm very sorry I keep doing this. It is freezing. So shout out to any of you guys sitting in the snow watching this. Here's the headline that really got my attention. And with ADHD, if it gets my attention, you know it's going to be good. Some Wall Street executives feel a tantrum. Hard stop. Men, tantrum? I thought children have tantrum. Women in custody battles, tantrums. Wall Street, okay, I'll keep going. Coming in U.S. short-term financing markets, perhaps as soon as March. It could put pressure on the Fed to ease policy. As air quotes, a series of events are expected between March and May, some which will reduce the amount of cash in the financial system, while others increase the demand for liquidity, according to interviews with 4 banking executives. Can we get me those banking executives on the phone so I can teach these men how to be men? They're saying the quiet part out loud. Prepare well, friends. Hypothetically, allegedly, I didn't say it, don't come for me. I'd love to know who the 4 banking executives are that think the word tantrum, oh, there's a moth too, is something that's even acceptable to use. Oh yeah, the word feel. See, they feel a tantrum. Finance doesn't give up about your feelings. If you want a friend, get a dog. Yikes, big yikes. Oh, and shout out Miss Yellen, Janet Yellen. Let's talk about her for a moment. I saw in an Axios article, economic vibes are good. No. The economy doesn't have vibes. And she wants to criticize Trump's financial policies. Ma'am, woman to woman, let me remind you, you ran the Federal Reserve the first 2 years of the Donald Trump presidency. Just friendly reminder, Janet, sit this one out for the love of God, please. Oh, the inconsistencies with Janet, we appreciate your public service, but just sit it out. How can you go criticize an administration that you were 2 years the Federal Reserve Chair for? Isn't that not counterproductive? And if you criticize your work from then, why should we believe you now? Logic and reasoning, am I right? So back to China. I think I've covered it all. I think I made it through this pretty quickly. And I look forward to looking at the slabs market. I look forward to watching interest rate. Oh yeah, it's a great time to buy a home at a 7% interest rate. Here's the caveat. If we had a healthy society, the high rates would not bother me. But people obsessing over rates lowering, more money printing. But then again, let's go back to the banking executives that feel and tantrum. Let's pick up on that. You all just prepare well. Remember, if you don't hold it, you do not own it. So hypothetically, allegedly, seeing gold go to a high would make, just for myself personally, make more sense for me to be able to look at it or own it physically, tangible, or code API keys well with mnemonic. See. So, Ana habak shatim teomo bisu besubachi. Alex out.